So, Alan, now that the season is ending, what are the dates we should circle?
Yeah, well, as the season ends, the work is just beginning for the Knicks front office, and it really turns to the most important date, I think, May 14th for this franchise. So we'll take a look at what is coming up for the Knicks, and that is the date, May 14th. The draft lottery held in Chicago. That's when we'll find out where the Knicks will draft, if it will be at number 1 or if they move somewhere else. Then the Combine takes place in the same city over the next couple of days as well. A lot of the players who are going to be entering the draft, you get the measurements and everything else. Then, of course, you have June 20th. Now we'll know who the Knicks would be drafting and where they'll be drafting that player. June 30th is an important date. That's the deadline for players who are under contract who have opt-outs for next season. They can opt out by then. There's several big names who could opt out into free agency, at least are expected to. And then the moratorium, the little holiday that we have in the NBA in the summer, July 1st through the 6th. You can talk to players who are free agents in that period, and by July 6th, you can sign them. So July 7th becomes a very important day for certain franchises to celebrate new players coming in.
As for the draft, how do the percentages work out?
Now, as you remember, this is the first year now that the draft has different percentages. They changed that up to try to curb tanking in the NBA. As in the past, the team with the worst record would have a 25% chance to win the lottery, which was the most of any other team. Now, as we'll take a look, the top 3 teams, or I should say the bottom 3 teams, have equal opportunity at 14%. You see there the Knicks, Cavaliers, and the Suns. That's not expected to change after today regardless as well. The key here, Al, is take a look at worst possible pick, meaning how far could you fall? It used to be you could only drop 4. Now you could drop 5. So if you want to look at it as importance, there's still an importance to finishing at the very top or very bottom, because the worst you'll fall is 5th. And as you see there, it moves accordingly as you go down the line. So as we know, the Knicks, 14% chance to win, and the worst they'll do is 5th.
And even if they get the top spot, this whole drafting thing is pretty precarious.
Yeah, it is amazing. And you and I have talked about this quite a bit, about the actual draft. I use this phrase, currency of hope. When you have a draft pick, really that's what it is. The value isn't until you actually make the pick. So the weighted lottery system started in 1990. So I looked back in the 28 years, back to 1990, at all the number 1 overall picks to see when you make a number 1 pick, just how much of a hit is it? And what I saw was pretty amazing. First and foremost, 10 of those picks out of the 28 years have turned into what I think you would call a superstar, MVP level. Those are some examples, but certainly not all of them, of the players that you nail it at the number 1 pick. They're no-brainers. As you can see there, Hall of Famers, some of them already. But the problem is that's 35% so far, Al. 35% is not a very good batting average. Now, if you look at it, there's also 7 picks there that you would say were star quality but didn't have major impacts on winning. Chris Webber, Glenn Robinson, John Wall, some of the names you'd say there that didn't turn into championship level type winning. But that's that. Now, if we look at the rest of it, you have 11 number 1 overall picks that were either busts, and we're saying Olowokandi or Kwame Brown or Anthony Bennett types, or were not even close to being the best player taken in their draft. So 35% were hits over the last 25 years as superstars, and yet 38% were busts. So number 1 is something you love to have, but you got to make sure it's a good draft year and there's a great player. You also have to make sure you make the right pick.
Okay, time for the stat of the night.
Well, it involves that as well, as we'll continue with the lottery theme on the fix. So the Knicks have been in the lottery 12 times since 2002. They've only kept half of those picks, but they've been in that lottery. So since then, they've never moved up and twice have moved down. What we know is that the number 1 slot, they can't move up. But of course, we want to make sure they don't move down.
See you later.
You got it.